One of the most powerful social media trends that has emerged over the last few years, and that I just particularly love, is building in public. All of us in life are always doing something. The natural state of humans is in the acting towards something or doing something. So for example, in my case, I work in alternative education and a chief marketing officer, and there are all sorts of initiatives that I have to do on my day-to-day basis, as my role is basically of that. So maybe I'm setting up a new 5-figure campaign on ads. Maybe I'm talking to investors. Maybe I'm scheduling a bunch of social media posts. Maybe I'm talking to our beauty producers so that they help us collect student testimonials and then put them on websites. Maybe I'm stressing myself trying to talk to my HubSpot support service or to any other SaaS. I'm just trying to make the tool work. These are all things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And the building public movement is basically saying, hey, as you do that thing, why don't you document what's happening? Document what's literally happening, but also what you're learning, what's working, what's not working, how you're feeling, who you're doing it with. And in that process of sharing, people around you literally will get to know you more, connect to your mission, and potentially support you in that path you're following. But also you have this other side of people who you have never heard about online. Maybe they're in China, maybe they're in Italy. They might be in the same situation in which you are, or they might connect with the same things that you're sharing, and through you documenting what you're doing and publishing it online, basically you're bringing in people to your mission. Now that's a work example, but it basically goes to every single realm. I'm a particular huge dancer, so I'm always dancing mostly Afro-Caribbean rhythms, so salsa, rumba cubana, and all these different things. I could record myself as I'm doing that. Whole idea of building in public is, you're doing something already, why don't you document it? Why does this particular movement spark so much attention from me? I mean, there are many reasons, but the one I want to talk about today, it's basically the act of learning from people without paying them, or without you incurring the time cost and financial cost of learning what they went through that now they're sharing with you. And I'll simplify that through an example. As I mentioned, currently a chief marketing officer. My background has been heavily in content, which means any sort of package information good that I have then put up for free to the public, with the intention that people across time, they perceive value in what I've put up, and eventually they buy from us. I've ran 4-figure ad campaigns in the past. With content, I could say, yo, by this point I've worked with 60+ companies and I've made them millions of dollars. If I have a challenge which I feel I could solve with content, I could probably do that. With ads, it's very, very different. I've done it a few times. I've done it profitably. I'm pretty sure that there are people way better than me. So what does this have to do with the building public movement? Well, the beauty of this is that if you're an autodidact like I am, you're someone who needs knowledge, needs to know something, or has a problem, and you just feel the confidence to just buy a book, or go to the library, or buy a mentorship package from someone, or just look for a source of information and then you apply it. If you're that kind of person, through the building in public movement, you can learn from others and skip all the mistakes that they did or all they had to pay to get them. Now, on a skills level, I was always asking myself, do I know enough to make as much money as possible from these resources that I have? And as a knowledge seeker, my answer is usually probably not. Or probably there's someone who knows something you don't. Go talk to them, go read what they've said, or in this case, go look at a YouTube video. So what happened was that I started sourcing the entire set of people, specifically within the realm of ads, that build in public. And I came across this guy called Sam, and I believe his last name is Piliero, or Piliero. Sam, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure you'll mispronounce my last name too. But the point is that I met Sam, or at least I saw his videos. And Sam has been publishing for over a year. Everything he's learning as he scales different brands. But the whole point is, he went past the stage of running 5-figure campaigns, which was the ones that I was trying to set up. So he'd done the thing that I'd done, or at least that's what he said. And based on his digital footprint, I could see that apparently he had said the things that he said he had done. I started watching his videos, and let me tell you, I've paid, I think the last ads course that I paid was about $5,000. That was last year. And a lot of the things that they said, and this is very reputable people that I really trust, Sam was saying from the get-go. So that was like, okay, these people that I trust, they said these things, I've already used them, they've worked. Sam is saying them for free in a YouTube video. That wasn't enough for me to say, of course, like, hey, Sam knows his thing, but it was definitely a signal to say he might know his thing. So first of all, good digital footprint. That's the first requisite that I look for in Sam when I was trying to learn from someone building in public. Then I found out that, again, I did my research of best practices. I contrast to my own experience in the past and what people who I trust have said to me when it comes to setting up ad campaigns. So I said, this is probably validation. And the third thing I would say is that I had the bandwidth to just trust Sam. Sam kept saying different patterns across a lot of his videos or recurring themes, let's say. He said, let campaign set for 7 to 14 days so that you actually have enough data to make a decision. So I was like, okay, am I doing that? Let's check out. He also said, hey, you have a prospecting campaign, which is the campaign that is trying to get people into your company. That prospecting campaign is eventually going to have a few winners. There are some variables by which you can judge the winners, but also once you have those winners, why don't you set up a scaling campaign? And the difference between the prospecting campaign, which brought people in, and the scaling campaign was that the scaling campaign only comprised the best ads from the prospecting campaign. And the whole intention was, if these are the best, why not put them in its own campaign and then spend more money on them? So let's say I have $1,000 on my prospecting campaign, spent 1,000 on the scaling campaign, but only made up of, let's say, 3 ads, because those are the ads that have worked. So just put money in them. So I was like, okay, that's something that fits the logic of what I've learned. Let's just try it. And then he also said frequency. I actually, it's this little things in which this sounds pretty obvious, but I don't work within ads, not as often. So I couldn't have seen this particular thing. But frequency, it's like, how many times are people seeing your ads? And I'm like, why have I never asked myself this? Why have I never thought that the more people see an ad, perhaps the less likely they are to click it, or the more tired of it they will be, and maybe that might affect sales. And again, these are all principles. So there might be a chance, like there are ads that I've been seeing for the last 2 years. So their frequency is pretty much like 20 plus, at least in my case. And I've clicked those ads. So at times they might work, but it's having this principle that Sam said, which is, hey, check your frequency. There might, at times I found that in campaigns, let's say an ad gets seen 5, 10, 15 times, I've seen correlation between the more times an ad has been seen and the lower performance it gets. So track it. And I was like, yeah, why not track it? And like, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is that these particular 3 things that I learned from Sam, and I've learned way more, I just trusted that he knew his thing. And I also acknowledged that I didn't know my thing, or that someone knew more than me. And that through the building in public movement, I could go ahead and say, maybe this guy is actually saying the thing he does do. Maybe he's not lying. He's probably saving a few of, the best tricks, but probably 100% of what he's saying is true. And if 100% of what he's saying, I don't know 100% of it, why not try a few bits of it? And I acknowledge that I didn't know enough, that someone else probably knew more. I watched a YouTube video, and you know what happened? I started implementing all these things, and my cost per book call dropped down for my K-12 school. So we're having more calls for people who want to book a shadow day, a day in which students can come for free and actually experience a real school day. This is a virtual school, by the way. I have been better at pruning out the ads that are not performing, and I'm now able to send that budget to the ones that are performing, and I've learned from it. And that's a key word. And the great thing about the building in public movement, which is essentially what I'm trying to share, is that you're just documenting what you're doing, and there's something so beautiful about that every single person who has ever journaled can actually tap into. It's just seeing how you thought, seeing how you spoke. I'm probably in a few years, I'm going to be articulating my ideas way better than I'm doing them now. And I might see this video and say, God, like I was so cringy, or I don't know, I could have just switched my tone more, do more, how do you call these? Body movement, gestures. Just change my range more from like this to like just dialing it down. Seeing how I think about business, At this point, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I've made millions for a bunch of companies in the tech sector, small ones making about $1 million per year, to bigger ones making about 350. And now I'm doing great work in education. I love my work, love my team. But I'm pretty sure that a few years from now, I might look at something like this and say, I had it so wrong. Like, there was so many things that I just wasn't seeing. And it's just nice to see what's happening, to see how you thought, your evolution. It might be bold by then, and maybe it's like, God, like I really miss my hair. And the second layer is like you're inspiring people to do the thing that you're doing. You know, in my case, I'm 26. I'm an executive in marketing. I've been directing work in marketing since I was about 22. I'm also actually Colombian. I never worked within the US. I currently live in Mexico. However, I charge way more than people in the US do. And I've directed work and I've achieved great things. And I've never worked outside of a US company environment. So that's an anomaly. Maybe I'm inspiring people who are from Latin America who feel like they could never do that. Maybe I inspire people within education to help them see, hey, the work you're doing is life-changing. However, if you don't think about education as a business, you might go out of business. And if you go out of business, you cannot achieve the wonderful things that you're doing. So think about your business as a business. But then on the third layer, what happens is that inevitably you start attracting people who can support your mission and also who might hire you. So in the case of Sam, I learned from Sam and I apply the things. Pretty sure people who saw the thing and said, this is too confusing, let me hire Sam. So that's business for him. There are other people who maybe said, this is so time consuming, let me hire him. It might be people like me who know their craft so well and understand everything Sam is saying, but can acknowledge that there might be things that Sam could see that I cannot see. And guess what? I can hire Sam too. Scaling campaign that I set up, it's been 14 days, I believe, not performing as well as I thought. Maybe I just hire Sam to fix it. 3 ways in which he could have gotten a client. So when I say that the building in public movement is one of the best movements that have ever come across social media, especially for autodidacts like I am, I'm not taking that lightly. If you can pinpoint then all of the things you don't know, then contrast that to all of your business's bottlenecks and say, which is the bottleneck that is keeping my business the most away from actually getting to the stage in which I want it to be? And which are the particular set of skills that perhaps or solutions that could help me basically banish that problem? And then you can just go ahead and make a YouTube search and watch a few YouTube videos like I did and just fix the problem. Again, I'm not taking it lightly when I say this is one of the greatest movements that have ever come across the entire internet. Probably I should have spent years learning these things. This guy, Sam, and a bunch of other people, Daniel Dallin, Taki Moore, these are all people documenting a lot of what they do, at least within the realm of marketing. There are people in other realms, Casey Neistat, for example, within the realm of film production. But if you can pinpoint a problem you have, you can just go on YouTube and you'll find someone who probably solved that. And if you not only acknowledge that they might know something that you don't through you searching for an answer, let me actually do what they say and not think that I have a better way. Or let me not just hear this particular advice and then let me put up a spin. Let me improve it. And you just do the thing. Trust me when I tell you, you're gonna outperform your competition or just outperform or outrun the way in which you improve compared to the way other people improve at a rate that you just cannot imagine. Do that for an enough amount of years, and you'll in no time be either the market leader, like me, you might be an executive at 26, actually became an executive way before, or you just might get to the top of the feeling, whatever you want to do. I could be doing this and I could be watching every single salsa video on YouTube and just practicing. And I could just be better. That's the whole point. You can be better, but it starts with you acknowledging that you're not, and that what you know and what you're doing, which got you to the point in which you are at right now, it's not where it's gonna get you to the next stage. And that next stage is just one YouTube video away.